Hi, my name's Karina Walter and welcome to the Standard Newsroom. I'm here with St. Catharines Mayor Walter Sendzik for our monthly chat with the mayor. We've been off for a couple of months for the summer, but we're back now. Welcome.
Thank you for having me back.
You just recently participated in the Mayor's Grape Stomp and won, so congratulations again.
Thank you. That was the third year in a row, and I think I made the announcement at the event that I think I'll be hanging up the old stomping feet and passing the torch to someone else who wishes to carry on the tradition.
Why is that?
It just takes so much energy to participate in the grape stomp. It's a lot of heavy lifting, hard work beforehand. You got to do a lot of preparation. So you start 6 months out, and you really build a regiment of stomping. You just go through the community stomping on things, and then when it gets to that date, like, you're full of anxiety. And I think going out on top is an important way to go out, and I'm sure someone will step up and try and keep the trophy in St. Catharines next year.
Okay, so Mayor Walter Sendzik retiring his feet.
Unless, of course, maybe Mayor Jim Diodati comes out of somewhere, because every year I've challenged him, he just does not want to take me on. But I think, he seems to have turned a bit of a corner. He looks like he's trying to get in some shape. So maybe next year he'll challenge me, and then maybe I'll have to consider it.
He's got a full 12 months to prepare, so spring it on you at the last minute maybe. Wanted to ask you, there were some student problems in Thorold last weekend. They had about 400 students on one of their streets on Winterberry, and I know City Council brought in some roofing laws this year for students. Wondering, or some bylaws to prevent some nuisance parties. I'm wondering how it's been so far this year since school's back.
Well, we had our struggles here in St. Catharines as well, not to the extent of in Thorold, but we still had a number of complaints that were raised, and so we're working with Brock and the Nag Regional Police. Brock has done an effective job of at least going into the community and talking to students who are living off campus and saying, here's what it is to live in neighborhoods. And I gotta say, Karina, a majority of them get it, and a majority of them understand that you're living in neighborhoods where there's families, and being respectful is an important part of being a part of a community. And so, unfortunately, there's a smaller group who they're away from home for the first time. They're going to do their things, and they create a lot of nuisance for a lot of folks. So we just want to remind, through Brock and the NRP, we want to remind students to be respectful, that there are bylaws in place. You can't party on the roof. We don't tolerate having furniture in the front yard, sofas and tables, and we also don't tolerate people parking on their grass. So driveways are for parking. If we find that you're parking in areas that you shouldn't be, you'll be automatically ticketed. There are no warnings. You'll be ticketed. As well, I know our fire department will be going through all of the student rental housing and just checking on the fire alarms, because we want to make sure that the kids are safe as well.
Do you have a motion coming up on Monday about this?
Yeah, there is a motion that is designed on implementing Oshawa. The city of Oshawa has a very effective student housing bylaw that it brought into place. So our staff are bringing it up to stage for or up to St. Catharines, and we're going to consider it as a council. Long overdue. A lot of folks have been talking about it. Not a lot has been done about it. This will have I believe, a very important role to play in managing the number of student houses in neighborhoods, and also who owns the student houses. So we're going to be dealing with the landlords. And I think from the Oshawa experience, based on their success, we should be able to get a better handle on where the student housing is in our community and how we can better manage it.
Okay. The Standard's been doing an ongoing investigation into regional councillor expenses over the last little while, and we have another story coming out tomorrow. Grant LaFleche and Bill Sawchuk have been FOIing the regional councillors' expenses. They haven't gotten to yours yet. What do you expect they're going to find when they do?
I can't even remember the last time I made an expense, probably related to kilometers, just in terms of if I had to drive somewhere for regional council work. The reality is that at the City of St. Catharines, we post all of our expenses online. My expenses are posted online. All of my gifts are posted online. So, there is a cost to doing business, and there are expenses that are incurred. But I think, again, 99% of folks who are in government, they want to do good work, and we're hoping that a new expense policy at the region will have a positive impact moving forward.
What do you think of some of the expenses that your colleagues have put in?
Honestly, Karina, I believe that you just stand behind your expense when you submit it, and there's times where you look at your expenses and you're looking at, was this a work related, or was this something that I was doing for something else not related to the city or the region? And you have to ask yourself those questions, because the reality is that all the dollars are taxpayers' dollars, and you want to be respectful of the dollars that go into operating government. So everyone has to make that decision themselves. I'm not going to sit here and be critical of another individual, but I'll say that we should be looking at it going, these are taxpayers' dollars. Was I doing business during the operations of this expense? And that's the litmus test, and there should be a review. Either the audit committee should review the expenses before they're actually paid, or the chair's office should review it before it's paid. And if there's an issue, you flag it, and then you have to justify it. I don't believe that we should just be able to submit our expenses and get paid no matter what it is. There should be a checkpoint that says, is this a valid expense? And I think that's what we're working towards on the policy.
So the new policy that they were just approving the last meeting?
At the City of St. Catharines, everything's checked by my office and the CIO's office. So when a councillor makes an expense, comes through, we check it. We make sure it fits within our corporate policy, our travel policies, our conference policies. We check to make sure, and when it does, we sign it. If not, we send it back and say, there's not enough information behind it, or there's no receipts. We make sure. I believe we have a strong system at the city, but it could be better, and what we're looking at is a review of our overall expense policies, just to make sure that they're as robust as possible, because we don't want to be in a situation where people are questioning how do we operate as an organization.
Well, I remember when the councillor expenses came to City Council a few months ago. The City of St. Catharines, it's about maybe this long. It's not very much. What is the difference in what a city councillor can expense versus a regional councillor?
Well, it's pretty much prescribed. It's kilometers, and it's also if you go for meals with a business associate or a resident, you have to claim it. Or if you get tickets to an event, like a lot of our councillors will go to a United Way event, or a Pathstone event, or a community event where it's $25 a ticket, and you submit your expense for that, and then it gets paid. But it's all categorized, and at the end, I've got to sign it, or the CAO has to sign it.
Okay.
So ultimately, it's our responsibility to make sure that the funds are being deployed properly.
City councillors don't get mileage for going to council meetings, do they?
No, it's just if you were going outside of the region, if you were going away on business that's related to the city, we would capture the kilometers.
Okay. The other story that the Standard had this week was about a brewery that's looking at coming to St. Catharines, and I'm wondering how the city is involved in trying to bring them here.
Well, I think it's a great example of business attraction, and the company that's interested has identified Niagara as a destination for its business, and as part of that, our economic development office, Brian York and his team, got involved very early on and was very instrumental on looking at different lands within the city. And I got to say, they looked at different areas where there could be of interest, and the business settled on one area that's involved with the region. And so there's been a lot of negotiations and a lot of work to get to this point, and we're hoping for a positive outcome. But there's folks out there who say, how does a municipality create economic opportunities? How is government, how does council create? This is a classic example of how we as a municipal and regional government can help create jobs. So when someone's out there is critical of what we're doing, this is a great example. Same with the GE in Welland. Those were a lot of elected officials working behind the scenes trying to make sure that this comes to fruition, and then having the staff support it. And if this comes to light, this will be a big boost for St. Catharines. And it's not just because of the jobs, but because we're attracting a business from another part of Ontario into Niagara, and it fits with our growing brewery, winery, distillery sectors that are important parts of our economy today.
You mentioned the economic development plan. This is coming to council on Monday?
Yeah, it's been in the works for the better part of last year. It's an economic development strategy, and it's brought forward by our economic development department. And it's about setting the stage, Karina, for where we want to go as a city. And a lot of folks say, how is the economy in St. Catharines, and where's the economy going? this is that roadmap for where we want to go. We got to always be thinking of where's the economy going to be 10 years from now, 15 years from now. And I would say maybe we haven't been as focused in the past. Past councils have been focused on building buildings, civic projects, which are really important. But now we've got to set that horizon further out and go, what kind of businesses do we want to attract to the community? What kind of downtown do we want to have? And how do we start to put in place those attraction strategies and those economic building strategies that'll get us to where we want to be, like a Kitchener-Waterloo or a Kingston or a London?
Okay, so council will be looking at, is it going to be in that kind of a detail?
Yeah, the presentation will be done by economic development, and they'll take you through the report, and then council will provide its feedback, and then hopefully it'll get approved, and we can start working on the strategy.
Okay. The other thing that you're working on right now is the budget that's coming up earlier this year, as we reported, than last year. You guys are trying to get it done by the end of November as opposed to March.
Right, and I think a lot of people understand why, and the reality is our year end, our fiscal year end is December 31st. And it was always frustrating for me coming from the corporate world that we'd be discussing budget in March, April, when we would already be within our fiscal year. So there's been an effort through the budget chair, Councillor Cisco, and the budget committee to really, I don't want to use the word corporatize, but bring a better financial structure to the city. Again, long overdue, trying to get the budget to be completed in the fiscal year so that staff can hit the ground running January. Currently, staff are waiting 3 months into our fiscal year about, well, what's council's decision going to be? That's not how you run a corporation. That's not how you run a city. So we're trying to back that out into the current year, and then making sure, because we're a budget standing committee that meets throughout the year, that we're better prepared to have the budget being dropped in, like you said, November of this year.
So you've got some open houses and the telephone town hall again this year. How
This
much
is very
of that,
popular.
Yeah, how much of that community feedback do you guys
A lot.
use?
It really influences our decision making, and I personally, you look at where people are more concerned about. Last year there was a lot of folks concerned about parks. They were concerned about the level of taxation. You know, a lot of folks are looking and saying that hydro rates are too high, food costs are going up, gasoline costs are going up, and there's a lot of pressures on families. So how do we continue to provide services and enhance our services, but at the same time keep the taxation rate at the rate of inflation is what our target is. So, 2%, keep it at 2% so that people know that, hey, we're building a great city, but we're doing so within our means. We're not trying to spend beyond that. And I think that's where the taxpayer, and we hear that from the telephone town hall.
What do you think some of the biggest challenges are this year with the budget?
It's getting down to that 2%. And, we've got labor costs that are fixed. We have a fixed labor cost in terms of contracts. We have expectations on infrastructure. We have expectations on how we're growing our city, where we're investing. And so, a rate of inflation means there's not a lot of room for growth. And so where do we dial back on some of our investments currently? And where's others that we need to invest in, like economic development or parks and rec, where it's an area that can have a positive impact moving forward. And infrastructure is a key one. So it's the one thing I've learned over 3 years is that we've got a lot of challenges ahead of us. We've spent a considerable amount of money over the years, and trying to get to that stabilized rate has been a challenge. But I'm confident council and staff will get there, and I think the community will be impressed with how we do it.
You mentioned Parks and Rec, and I think you were at West Park earlier today, right before you came over
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
We just opened up the new West Park pool, play area. So we got a splash pad, new bathrooms, a lot of people around council were questioning whether we needed new washrooms,
Yes,
but
Joe Kushner was very interested in that.
there was certain councillors who didn't want us to have the kind of washrooms that we do. They're beautiful, and I was talking to the general contractor, and he just said, these washrooms will last for 50 years, and they're beautiful. And the playground is fully accessible, so it's for anybody with any kind of mobility issues can use the playground. We've got some workout areas for older adults, for those of us who are trying to stay in shape while our kids are on the play sets. So it's a recreational area. And the federal government put in a $500,000. The Ontario Tire Stewardship Program put in $60,000. The city of St. Catharines put in $600,000. It's beautiful. New trees. It's it's a great investment in a part of the community that has been often overlooked. And I think that community will be very happy with the new amenities that we've invested there.
Well, we're almost out of time, but I know you wanted to give a shout out for the powwow that's happening at Montebello Park on
Right.
October 1st.
We have a powwow on October 1st. It'll be the first powwow in our community in probably more than 20 years. And it's on a Sunday. It starts at noon. And the Niagara Native Center is organizing the powwow. There will be dance, there will be music, cultural celebrations from First Nations, as well as food, traditional First Nations food. So it's part of our Truth and Reconciliation program, and we're on a path together, the First Nations community and the community of St. Catharines. We're on this path of reconciliation, and the Celebration of Nations was a great start to that. The fact that we have the Haudenosaunee flag flying at City Hall. These are all steps, and we've got a long road ahead of us, but we're walking together with our First Nations brothers and sisters, and I'm encouraging the community to come out and really participate and see an amazing celebration, and the powwow is just that.
Because anybody can come out. You don't have to have Native
Nope.
American roots.
No, it's for the community, and it's part of the First Nations coming together and showcasing to the community, to the entire community of St. Catharines. This is our culture, and they've been here for a long time, and it's about time that we as a community embrace First Nations, and they are a part of us, and we're a part of them.
Okay. Well, you can read more about that powwow coming up in the Standard soon. Thank you for coming back after the summer, and it kind of still feels like summer out there.
And we covered a lot. Maybe we shouldn't take that much time off in between.
Yeah, there's a lot to catch up with. Thanks for joining us, and you can see another chat with the mayor in October, and you can start sending us your questions now on Twitter with the hashtag AskSendzik. Thank you.